Hey, what's up guys? I'm BTC. The PTR just got an update, and with it comes some massive nerfs for Junkrat and Mercy. So I'm going to tell you all about it and how it's going to affect the game. Alright guys, these are definitely some really big changes, although the Mercy nerf is significantly worse than what Junkrat is getting. At least the Junkrat change kind of makes him more consistent with how the rest of the game works. But for Mercy, this is just going to be a crippling nerf for the character. But first, if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe, because anytime Blizzard makes these sorts of changes, I'll be sure to break it all down and tell you guys everything you need to know about it. So make sure you subscribe and hit that bell so you don't miss any of it. Alright, so we're going to start with Junkrat. His concussion mine will now deal less damage to targets farther away from the explosion center. Developer comments, Junkrat has been enjoying the flexibility his double charge concussion mine provides, but it has now become a bit too easy to throw out huge bursts of damage in a large area. With this change, he can still dish out similar damage, but he must now be more accurate with his tosses. I'm actually kind of surprised that it took Blizzard this long to change how this ability deals damage. And not because it was overpowered or anything, just because it's inconsistent with how literally every other explosive attack in the game works. So let me show you what I'm talking about here. If you direct hit something, it's going to do a certain amount of damage, right? It's going to do the maximum that the explosive damage can do. But if it is a little bit further away, then it does a minor amount of damage. And it works that way with pretty much everything in the game that has some sort of explosive effect. There's like a fall off to it. So let me show you real fast with like Farah's another really good example, right? So a direct hit is going to do a maximum of 120, but if you just kind of like graze the target, then it's going to do a lot less. But the remote mine, that concussion mine, has never worked like that. It's always been 120 damage, no matter what. So before, if you hit someone like right next to him, it would do 120. If it was kind of far away and you hit them, it would still do 120. But now what they've done is they changed it so there is that fall off on the ability. So now when you hit the target, it's not going to do the full damage unless you actually detonate it right next to the character that you're trying to hit. So this is a pretty significant change. It means that you can't just kind of like spam it out anymore. Like, you have to be really accurate, and you have to definitely hit the character that you're trying to aim at. And where did those bots even go? I don't know where the other one went. Where's the other bot? It's just, oh, there it is. Oh, it's stuck down there. Okay, hold on. I'll save you. There you go. You can come back. Let's get back on track though. How much of an impact is this going to have on the game? For the higher skill brackets, not too much. For two reasons. One, they're already really good at aiming, so they're going to be able to hit their target consistently, which means that they're going to be doing the maximum amount of damage most of the time. There will be cases where they do kind of miss a little bit, and it's, you know, a smaller amount, but for the most part, those higher skill Junkrat players are still going to be doing about the same amount as they were before. The other thing is, for the high skill bracket, Junkrat really isn't used that much. His pick rate is kind of low, and there's only 10 people in the top 500 that consistently use Junkrat. And as far as tournament goes, his pick rate is also kind of low. It's between 15 and 18%. So while he is used, he's not like used all the time. So for the higher scale brackets, this change doesn't really affect that much. For the average player, however, it's probably going to be a pretty significant damage reduction for Junkrat players, because they're not going to always hit the target. They're going to miss. They're going to be a little bit off to the side, and because of that, you're going to have that reduced damage. Now, let me show you just how far away you can be when you throw the remote and still do damage. So right there you can't. Right there you can. But look at how much damage it did to that training bot. It's kind of a small amount. Now, on the live version of the game, that would have been 120 damage. So imagine the average player who lands the remote right there, then they detonate it. Instead of doing 120, they only do like, what, 30 or so? Somewhere in that range. So that is going to be a pretty significant nerf for the average Junkrat player, not so much for the higher player. Alright, so we're going to move on to Mercy. Guys, I am not exaggerating when I say that this is a crippling, character-destroying nerf. That is how severe these changes are. And everything affects her ultimate. So let me run through it. It says, Valkyrie no longer makes Resurrect instant. No longer grants a bonus charge of Resurrect. The speed boost that Guardian Angel receives has been decreased by 50%, and the duration reduced from 20 seconds to 15 seconds. Developer comments, Mercy's recent Resurrect changes have helped in allowing enemies to have more counterplay in dealing with her, but she was able to use Resurrect through Valkyrie enough to largely mitigate the impact of the previous changes. Additionally, we're toning back the amount of mobility Valkyrie provides through Guardian Angel and reducing its duration to overall reduce the power of this ability. Let me show you the new ultimate in action. So, I'm gonna ult, come over here, we're gonna res. And as you can see, I'm moving incredibly slow. Now, my regular movement is still gonna be the same. The speed reduction was on the Guardian Angel, so that's that dash right there. And then, of course, as you can see, it ended at 15 seconds instead of 20. So what kind of impact are we looking at here? Well, Mercy's ultimate went from being pretty good and useful to garbage tier. It is essentially a really bad version of Transcendence mixed with a bad version of Orisa's Supercharger. So before, you could pop your ult, get a res off, and then start healing or damage boosting your team. And the combination of that res plus the healing or the damage boost would impact the match or the fight that was going on quite a bit. But now, when you pop your ult, you just can basically heal a couple of people, and that's about it. Maybe you're a little bit more difficult to kill because you can fly up in the air, but other than that, it's just not really good. This ultimate now has almost no impact on the fight. So that's what ultimates are supposed to do. They're supposed to have a big kind of momentum swing behind them. That is the purpose of having the ultimates, right? But now with Mercy's ult, there is no momentum swing. There is no impact on the match or the fight that's going on. So breaking this down a little bit more, for the higher skill players, if this change goes through, I expect Mercy's pick rate to drop like a rock. Right now, it's probably too high, but these changes are going to make her pick rate less than 10%. In tournament, she might be replaced entirely by Lucio or Ana, maybe even Moira in some cases, but I think you're going to just see her pick rate fall off the map. Like, it's just going to be gone. Now, for the average player, this is going to be a pretty bad nerf, but it's not nearly as crippling as it is for the higher skill. The higher skill players need that extra resurrect. Like, it is so incredibly important. But for the average player who has, not really that good accuracy, dealing with the Mercy that's flying around in the air is kind of difficult. So the average player who's using Mercy can pop the ult, go up into the air, and then heal a bunch of teammates and still have at least some kind of impact, some kind of effect, and keep your teammates alive a lot longer. That is something that simply doesn't happen in the higher skill brackets. So for the average player, it is a nerf, no doubt, but it's not going to be nearly as bad as it is for the high skill. Like I said, for those high skill players, Master and above, and definitely in tournament, this is going to be so crippling, I would expect Mercy to just drop off. So what do I think about these changes? Well, for the Junkrat one, I'm pretty much okay with it. They're just making it consistent with how the rest of the characters in the game work, how the rest of similar abilities work in the game. And I think that's important, that you do have that sort of consistency. And it was just kind of odd that there was just one ability that just didn't follow the rules. So making that change, I think, is alright. Now, as far as Mercy goes, the change is just bad. I agree that it needed to be addressed, but what they did was they took the ultimate and they removed the thing that made it really good, which was the res. If you're going to take that away, then you're just left with a garbage tier ultimate. And the fact that they extra nerfed it even more just makes it even worse. And it doesn't make any sense at all. So if they're going to remove the res from Valkyrie, the bonus one anyways, then they need to do something to kind of make the ultimate a little bit better. They need to have that impact, that momentum swing that all the other ultimates in the game have. Because right now, the current version of Valkyrie that they have on the PTR is just straight up garbage. But what do you guys think about all these changes? Let me know down in the comments. Also, don't forget to check out my Discord server. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram, all that stuff. The links are down below. Thanks for watching. Remember, always blame the controller because it's never your fault. Also, special thanks to all my Patreon supporters for helping to make this all possible. If you'd like to see what kind of cool rewards you can get for supporting the channel, check the links on screen and down below.